Thank you all for being with us. We are so excited to have a packed room, and I think we're expecting more people even. This is very exciting. There's a few chairs in the front that we can move to the back if people need spaces to sit. We've had an incredible year. We won 81 awards. We were 9th in the nation in debate. We won our 35th national champion at the national tournament, as well as 17 other awards. And honestly, we won just about every tournament in some event that we attended this year. So it's been a very great year. And I want to give out a special thanks to our dean, Danny McCartney, and our new home, the College of Humanities and Social Science. So Danny and CHSS, thank you very much. So we're going to start with Jonathan Arens, and he's going to do extemporaneous speaking for you today. Jonathan is a senior sports communication major. He's graduating in May. Among the things that Jonathan has done this year, he's won 2 debate tournaments, including at the invitation-only debate tournament at the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency. Jonathan was also state champion in persuasive speaking, and he had second place finishes in extemp, impromptu, and in individual sweepstakes. Additionally, as we said at the national tournament, in addition to being our 35th national champion, he was also, in this event that you're going to see him in, he was national runner-up. So today he'll be doing extemporaneous speaking for you. He was given 3 questions, he picked one, and he's prepared the last 30 minutes. So I want to introduce for you Jonathan Arens.
As Voice of America News summarized in January of this year, in 1893, when the United States gold reserves were running dangerously low, J.P. Morgan and his company stepped in to bail out the American government, supplying gold in exchange for bonds. Thus began the era of the American mogul, from J.P. Morgan to Henry Ford to William Hearst, and now Elon Musk. The question that's asked before me today is twofold. How does Elon Musk's influence over government compare to past moguls, and what does this mean for the future of corporate power in American politics? When we see at the past comparisons, there are some ominous similarities, and when we look to the future of corporate power, it can mean nothing good. Now, we're going to break this down into 3 main parts. First, one mogul to rule them all. Second, the man behind the man. And third, the mad dash to mogulism. Let's start by talking about the first point, the one mogul to rule them all. And there are 2 subpoints to this: the diversification of power and unprecedented politics. Beginning with the diversification of power, what do we see from the history of American moguls? J.P. Morgan, financial power. Henry Ford, automobiles. William Hearst, news. Elon Musk seems to have a lot in common with all 3 of these men. He has his hands in everything. But beyond just that, as USA Today reported last week, he's the richest man in the world with an estimated net worth of $420 billion. He sort of defies the old saying. He's a jack of all trades and a master of all. So he has that diversified power that none of the other moguls of the past did. But what we also see diverging from the past is unprecedented politics. As TechPolicy.com reported last month, Musk has tied himself directly to President Trump. Now, if you look at the history of past moguls, and any History.com overview will tell you this, they were involved in politics in some ways, but not nearly to this extent. J.P. Morgan tied himself to the Federal Reserve, but he wasn't pushing specific economic policy or endorsing a certain political candidate. Henry Ford had some interesting political ideas, but the most he ever did was run a failed senatorial campaign. And William Hearst is probably the most directly tied to politics, but really he's just indirectly blamed for the assassination of President William McKinley, because himself and his newspapers didn't like McKinley. So what we see, moving right into the second point, the man behind the man, is there's this new push of moguls at the center of American politics. There are 2 parts to this as well: consolidation and personal gain. When we look at consolidation, as the Harvard Kennedy School discusses on February 7th of this year, Trump and Elon are a package deal. They're an empire of 2. He has direct power without holding direct office. and he's directly tied himself to an individual person. That diverges from the past moguls in many ways. As the New York Times reported on March 11th of this year, he put $280 million towards President Trump's election and has already pledged at least another $100 million towards GOP midterms. But he's consolidated all of this power into one area, but he's also going to have personal gain as well. As CLC talks about last month, Elon's wealth, when you look at the numbers, will undoubtedly grow. We're already seeing some parts of this with President Trump hawking the new Tesla models on the White House lawn, stepping into them and saying, wow, everything's computer. In another life, he would be a great comedian, but that's not the world that we live in. Really, the only thing that's going to stop the personal wealth gain of Elon Musk is perhaps the forthcoming tariffs, or whether they're actually coming or not. But that would be sort of a Pyrrhic victory if that's the only thing that brings him down. What we see, thirdly, looking really towards the question of how corporate power in American politics will expand, is the mad dash to mogulism. And there are also two parts to this. First, the bridesmaids, and second, the new-faced. What I mean by the bridesmaids is, as The Guardian reported during and after the inauguration, who all was there? Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, Tim Cook, Sam Altman, Larry Ellison. All of these billionaires, mainly tech billionaires, are lining up for their piece of the pie as well. It's a really sort of modern neo-feudalism where Trump and Elon are at the top and all of these different lords are trying to fill out the court. He's paved the way for more and more minor moguls and fighting with each other to gain to the top in corporate politics. And the second part of this, though, the one I'm most curious about, is the new face. What happens post-Trump? It's a populist movement. That means that it's not really specifically tied to a certain set of ideals or a certain political party. Elon Musk didn't suddenly turn himself into a red-hearted member of the grand old party. He's a Trumpite. But that means when Trump is gone, and at least for now, we still do live in a world where term limits exist and he will not be running again in 2028, what happens next? I find it hard to believe that Jeff Bezos is going to be backing J.D. Vance for president, or 12 years from now, Sam Altman's going to be putting all of his faith behind Josh Hawley. That's not what we're going to see. What we're seeing is that Elon has paved the way for, as the pendulum swings, so goes the money and power. If you look at all of these billionaires that showed up to the inauguration, Jeff Bezos, Zuckerberg, Tim Cook, Larry Ellison, 4 years ago, 8 years ago, 12 years ago, if you look at their political donations, which for the most part you can publicly access, it was all swinging to the Democratic Party. They're just following where the power goes, swinging back and forth. So when we look back on the question today, beginning with the first part, how does Elon Musk's influence over government compare to past moguls? What we see is that he doesn't just have the same amount of power, he has vastly more, both in his personal power and the power that he's tied himself to getting directly into the heart of politics. And when we look at the second part of the question, the future of corporate power in American politics, well, what we see is that as that Trump vacuum leaves, we're assuming it will be filled by someone. But no matter who it is, these corporate powers, these corporate moguls, will fill that vacuum themselves, back and forth. Thank you.